Community. Page 51. Exercise D. Sound bites. Read and listen to a conversation about city life.
Hey, Kyle. So how's the big city treating you?
Funny you should ask. Not great.
What do you mean?
Well, on my way here, I'm crossing the street, and this guy in an SUV turns the corner and almost runs me over.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the driver was in such a big hurry he didn't even notice. I just can't keep up with the pace here.
Well, you do have to learn to stay on your toes in the city.
It really gets to me sometimes. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I guess I'm just a country boy at heart.
Page 50. Exercise A. Conversation snapshot. Read and listen. Notice the conversation strategies.
Do you mind my smoking here?
Actually, smoking kind of bothers me. I hope that's not a problem.
Not at all. I can step outside.
That's very considerate of you. Thanks for asking.
Page 52. Rhythm and intonation practice. Listen again to the conversation. Repeat in the pauses.
Do you mind my smoking here?
Actually, smoking kind of bothers me. I hope that's not a problem.
Not at all. I can step outside.
That's very considerate of you. Thanks for asking.
Page 52. Ways to soften an objection. Listen and repeat.
I hope that's not a problem.
I hope you don't mind.
I hope it's okay.
I hope it's all right.
I don't mean to inconvenience you.
Page 53. Exercise D. Word skills. Using negative prefixes to form antonyms. Read and listen.
Acceptable. Unacceptable.
Considerate. Inconsiderate.
Polite. Impolite.
Proper. Improper.
Respectful. Disrespectful.
Responsible. Irresponsible.
Now listen again and repeat in the pauses.
Acceptable. Unacceptable.
Considerate. Inconsiderate.
Polite. Impolite.
Proper. Improper.
Respectful. Disrespectful.
Responsible. Irresponsible.
Page 50. Exercise A. Grammar snapshot. Read and listen to the interview responses. Notice the paired conjunctions.
What ticks you off?
What ticks me off? Well, I can't understand why people litter. Who do they think is going to clean up after them? Either they should throw their garbage in a trash can or hold on to it till they find one. I think it's great that people have to pay a fine for littering. Maybe they'll think twice before doing it again.
You know what gets to me? Smoking. It's such an inconsiderate habit. Secondhand cigarette smoke is neither good for you nor pleasant to be around. I'd like to see smoking banned from more public places. Don't non-smokers have rights too?
It really bugs me when people spit on the street. Not only do I find it disgusting, but it's also unhygienic. It's important to think about other people's feelings and public health.
Here's something that gets on my nerves. I hate it when people use their cell phones in public places. They annoy other people, not only on trains and buses, but also in theaters. They should have the courtesy to either turn their phones off or to leave them at home. It really makes me angry. I guess it's kind of my pet peeve.
Page 56, Exercise A. Vocabulary. Ways to perform community service. Read and listen.
Beautify your town.
Clean up litter.
Donate your time.
Volunteer.
Donate your organs.
Now listen again and repeat in the pauses.
Beautify your town.
Clean up litter.
Donate your time.
Volunteer.
Donate your organs.
Exercise C. Listening. Listen to summarize. Read the questions and listen to part 1 of the story about Nicholas Green and his family. Take notes on your notepad. Then summarize the first part of the story with your partner.
Reg and Maggie Green were on vacation with their children on the island of Sicily in southern Italy. It was a long way from their home in California in the United States. They had just spent the day sightseeing and were driving on a highway back to their hotel. It was evening, and their 7-year-old son Nicholas and 4-year-old daughter Eleanor were fast asleep in the back seat. Suddenly, another car with 2 men pulled up beside them. The man on the passenger side had a gun, and he was screaming at them through the window. As Reg Green stepped on the accelerator and drove away quickly, he could hear gunshots. He drove as fast as he could to the nearest town. Maggie was relieved to see that the children were still sleeping. But when they stopped, they both realized that Nicholas had been shot, and they rushed him to a hospital. Sadly, after 2 days in the hospital, Nicholas died. One can only imagine the grief and sadness Reg and Maggie Green must have felt at that moment. But they made a decision that touched the lives of many people and the hearts of millions around the world. They decided to donate Nicholas's organs to Italians who were very sick and needed them. By giving them Nicholas's organs, Reg and Maggie felt that they could help others. Nicholas's future had been taken away, so the Greens wanted to give a future to someone else. Their gift turned a senseless tragedy into a lesson in giving. Italians were very moved. They could not believe that visitors from another country who had suffered such a terrible loss could be so giving at such a terrible moment.
Page Exercise D. Listening. Listen for details. Read the questions and listen to part 2. Discuss your answers with a partner.
Within days, the Green family's personal experience erupted into a worldwide story. In Italy, strangers walked up to them on the street with tears in their eyes to say thank you. People started naming streets, schools, and hospitals for Nicholas Green. When the Greens returned home, they received letters from thousands of people around the world. The letters told how the Greens' decision changed their attitudes about donating organs. In Italy, the number of people who were willing to become organ donors increased by 300 to 400%. They called it the Nicholas effect. The Green family returned to Italy more than a dozen times after Nicholas's death, and they met all of the people who received Nicholas's organs, 7 people in all. A 15-year-old boy got Nicholas's heart. During his illness, he had weighed only 27 kilograms and had spent half his life in hospitals. After the surgery, he was healthy and full of energy. One girl was 2 days from death. The doctors had given up on her. But with one of Nicholas's organs, she got better. She later got married, and she gave birth to 2 babies, one a boy whom she named Nicholas. A woman who had never seen her own child's face now can see, thanks to the corneas from Nicholas's eyes. An 8-year-old boy was arriving at the hospital for his surgery to get one of Nicholas's organs. He was asked to think about something nice. He said, "I'm thinking of Nicholas." The Greens say that the love of life these people have shown and the looks on their families' faces is a wonderful reward. They often talk about how comforting it has been to know that people who would have died by now are leading normal lives, and that another who would have been blind can now see. Maggie and Reg Green have become very busy doing work to support organ donation. While it doesn't take away the pain of Nicholas's senseless death, it helps the Greens to believe that something good has come out of the tragedy.
Page 58. Size B. Reading. Read and listen to the interview.
The advent of the megacity. Following is an interview with Dr. Janice Perlman, founder and president of Megacities Project Incorporated. Her organization attempts to make cities worldwide more livable places by taking good ideas from one place and trying to make them work in another.
How do you define megacity?
We define megacities in our work as cities that have reached populations of 10 million or more. The majority of these are in developing countries. Migration to the city is the route for many people to greater choice, opportunity, and well-being. By coming to settle in the city, they have in effect voted with their feet.
Why are these places going to be very important in the next 100 years?
The 21st century won't be a century of rural areas and small towns, but of giant cities that will set the standard of how we live, how our environment is preserved or not preserved, how our economies work, and what kind of civil society we develop.
Do megacities in the developed and developing world differ? Or are they linked by certain similarities?
These large cities have a lot more in common with each other than they do with the small towns and villages in their own countries. For example, every megacity struggles with a widening gap between rich and poor. Every first world city, such as Los Angeles, New York, London, or Tokyo, has within it a third world city of poverty and deprivation. And every third world city, such as Calcutta, Cairo, or Mexico City, has within it a first world city of high culture, technology, fashion, and finance. In addition, all megacities share the problems of providing jobs and economic opportunities and making housing, education, and health care available. They deal with crime and violence as well as basic infrastructure such as water, sanitation, and public transportation. This is no easy task. The leaders of these cities recognize that they have similar problems, and they would like to learn more from other cities, particularly about successful solutions. If we are going to create livable cities for the next century, we will need to be clever enough to do it through collaboration and cooperation. That is why the Megacities Project works to share experiences that work across boundaries of culture and geography.
Is the solution to urban problems strict central planning?
Absolutely not. We need decentralized planning that includes local citizens. In my view, attempts to create planned cities or communities, like Brasilia or Chandigarh, are too sterile and miss the spontaneity of cities that grew organically, like Rio de Janeiro, Bombay, or even New York City. The best example of urban planning I've seen recently is in Curitiba, Brazil, which set up a brilliant public transportation system in anticipation of population growth. The historic areas of cities like Siena, Paris, or Barcelona all have elements of planning that led to buildings of similar heights and architecture, but they were not centrally planned. There is a lot of diversity within the design, and people love to go to those cities. Megacities are really very exciting places, The truth is, I've never met a megacity that I didn't like.
Page 6. Exercise A. Listening. Listen carefully to the conversations about cities. Check the adjectives that are closest in meaning to what the people say about each place. Listen again if necessary. Conversation 1.
Have I ever told you that when I was growing up in China, I was sent to live in the countryside?
No, you never have. How was that?
Oh, it was terrible. Not only was the poverty hard to take, but it was also really boring. There was nothing to do but work.
Didn't you have a choice?
Actually, no. Everybody pretty much had to go.
It must have been very hard.
For this city boy, you have no idea.
Conversation 2.
So by the time we got back, we were pretty tired.
Wow. Your telling me about your trip reminds me of the time I lived in Los Angeles.
Really? You never told me about that.
Didn't I? I guess I didn't really have many positive things to say.
You didn't like it?
Well, I couldn't get used to either the pollution or the crime. Maybe it was just the neighborhood I lived in. I've heard it's pretty nice in other places.
Too bad you didn't have a good experience.
Conversation 3.
Hey, you never told me you were in Singapore.
Yeah, I was. I lived there for about a year.
Was it great?
Yeah, it was fascinating. It's unbelievably clean. Not only is there no graffiti, but at that time they actually banned chewing gum. It was against the law.
They banned chewing gum? Sounds a little extreme.
Well, I guess it's a trade-off.
Conversation 4.
Didn't you live in Paris for a few years?
That's right. That was back in '03. I came back that year.
What was it like?
Paris is a wonderful city, so much to do and see, but I'll tell you, the people were neither friendly nor considerate. But I guess I just got used to it.
I've heard that about a number of big cities, actually.
It's true. They're all the same.
End of Unit 5.